What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. The Russian military, previously thought as the second strongest one in the world, quickly proved everyone that it was not as dangerous as people thought. They might have people which they don't care to lose, they might have the resources, they might have the history as one of the biggest contributors towards victory in the Second World War. But as time passed, the corruption and favoritism started to seep through the layers of the Russian army. Billions of dollars were stolen, the research and development of new technology was limited, and the generals and officers did not care about learning the new ways of warfare, preferring to use the same old tactics their grandparents used. But times change, and those who do not adapt are doomed to fail. The Russian tank armadas, once considered the most dangerous and scary, turn out to be outdated and unprepared. Combine this with non-caring attitude of the officers, and we have a massive, unsustainable, even for Russia, losses as a result. The Western nations saw it as well, and increased their support for Ukraine, sensing that victory against Russia was attainable. So today, guys, let's talk about increasingly devastating problems that Russian military is having with its tank forces. What once thought as the main part of any military now became what it seems a single-use machinery. Since the beginning of the invasion on February 24, 2022, up to September 19, 2024, Russia has experienced substantial tank losses in Ukraine. Reports indicate that around 8,705 Russian tanks have become unusable in one way or another. It is estimated that a staggering two-thirds were destroyed outright, representing a destruction rate of nearly 66%. Around 11% of tanks were abandoned on the battlefield, and 17% of them were captured by Ukrainians. The rest suffered anywhere between minor and major damages, and most likely repaired by Russians, suggesting that for every tank Russia might salvage, approximately 11 of them are irretrievably lost. Not the other way around. And this is what makes the Russian tank problem so devastating. They're not just carelessly using them, but they also give up a big portion of their machines, not willing to simply retrieve them or even letting the Ukrainians seize them and use against the former owners. What's even crazier to think is that these figures likely underestimate the true scale of losses, as battlefield assessments are usually challenging and often incomplete. Basically, these are just good guesses based on visual confirmations and stories from the soldiers. The high rate of tank destruction not only depletes Russia's armored forces, but also hinders its operational capabilities and affects troop morale. The critical question emerges: how many more tanks can Russia afford to lose before its military effectiveness is significantly compromised? At first glance, Russian officials project confidence in their ability to replenish tank losses. Prominent figures like Sergei Chemezov, the head of Rostec Corporation, and former President Dmitry Medvedev have made optimistic claims about producing up to 1,500 main battle tanks annually. However, these projections are met with skepticism, even from the Russian side, due to several factors, most notably Western sanctions that restrict access to critical components and advanced technology. Previously, for example, Russia was using one of French imaging devices, but later had to replace them with Chinese equivalent of a much lower quality. Analysts from the Swedish Defense Research Agency offer a more conservative estimate, suggesting that Russia can realistically produce approximately 520 new tanks per year. This figure encompasses around 120 T-90 variants, 80 T-80 BVM tanks, and 140 T-72 options. Satellite imagery of production facilities such as the Ural Vagon Zavod plant, which by the way is the only tank manufacturer in Russia if you never knew about this. So these images, they support lower estimates. Ukrainian intelligence reports from March 2023 indicate that the plant was producing about 20 new tanks per month, which most likely is way lower than the real number, but still nowhere near close to 1,500 per year, which were predictions by Medvedev. It further casts doubt on the higher official figures. At the same time, many of the tanks being added to Russia's arsenal are not new builds, but older models brought from storage, including T-62 and even T-54 tanks from dating back mid-20th century. These antique tanks receive minimal upgrades before deployment, rendering them ill-equipped to withstand modern anti-tank weaponry and significantly reducing their survivability on the battlefield. But still, the images of storage sites reveal a steady depletion of even these outdated models, highlighting the challenges Russia faces in maintaining a modern and effective armored force. Russia's substantial tank losses are also exaggerated because of an outdated military doctrines and tactical inefficiencies. Traditional Russian armor tactics emphasize large-scale assaults using waves of tanks intended to break through enemy lines and exploit gaps deep into controlled territory. A strategy rooted in the Soviet era, which is the concept of so-called deep battle. While the doctrine proved effective under certain conditions during the Second World War, it relies heavily on elements such as surprise, overwhelming force, and impeccable logistical support. None of these are longer the benefits that the Russian army can enjoy. In the modern battlefield, this approach has significant drawbacks, mainly because the strategy was developed almost 100 years ago and many things since then obviously changed. The failure to integrate combined arms tactics, specifically coordinated tank movements with dismounted infantry, artillery, and air support, leaves armored units vulnerable to ambushes and modern anti-tank weapons. Ukrainian forces have effectively utilized Western-supplied anti-tank guided missiles like the Javelin and NLAW, as well as domestically produced systems to inflict heavy casualties on Russian armor. And obviously, the use of inexpensive yet highly effective first-person view or FPV drones has further revolutionized warfare. Ukrainian drone operators have leveraged these small, cost-efficient drones to target Russian tanks with precision. After all, how much better does it get to use a small drone under $1,000 to destroy a multi-million-dollar machine? The lack of adequate camouflage and electronic countermeasures on Russian tanks makes them easy targets. Design flaws, such as the storage of ammunition in unprotected compartments, lead to catastrophic explosions when tanks are hit, often resulting in the turret being blown off, the notorious effect called jack-in-the-box. Efforts by Russia to counter these threats have been largely ineffective. Attempts to equip tanks with electronic warfare tools, such as signal jammers to disrupt drone operations, have suffered from poor implementation and inadequate technology. Ukrainian forces have captured some of these modified tanks, discovering that the electronic warfare systems were even worse than they originally thought, further exposing Russian tanks to Ukrainian attacks. The combination of high tank losses, limited production capabilities, and outdated tactics possesses a significant threat to Russia's ability to sustain its war effort in Ukraine. If current trends persist, analysts predict that Russia's effective tank fleet could diminish to fewer than 1,000 units within the next 2 years. Such a reduction would severely limit Russia's capacity to conduct large-scale armored offensives, a cornerstone of its military strategy. And even more importantly, Russia won't be able to protect itself against sudden Ukrainian attacks. The West might see Russia being at its lowest and weakest point and therefore increase the support to Ukraine, ending the Russian aggression once and for all. The quality of new tanks being produced is also a concern. Like mentioned previously, Western sanctions have disrupted Russia's access to advanced components, compelling reliance on less capable alternatives from countries such as China. This technological downgrade could further diminish the effectiveness of new tanks on the battlefield. The increasing volume of Ukrainian drones and the skill of drone operators make the situation even worse for Russian armor. Ukraine has prioritized the mass production of these FPV drones, aiming to produce 1 million units per year, and, by the way, they appear on track to exceed even this goal. The potential capability of drone production is even close to 3 million. These drones, combined with continued Western support in advanced weaponry and training, enhance Ukraine's ability to neutralize Russian tanks efficiently and cost-effectively. Speaking about Russia, efforts to secure alternative sources of tanks, such as potential assistance from countries like North Korea, are unlikely to provide a viable solution. Even if North Korea agrees to send most of its tanks, it still won't be enough to cover the rapidly increasing losses. What's even worse, North Korea's tank fleet consists largely of the very same outdated Soviet-era models that offer little improvement over the aging tanks Russia is already using. So this support is pretty much useless. Russians will most likely lose these tanks at even faster rate without changing anything along the front lines. Russia's once powerful tank force faces a significant and critical juncture. The combination of high losses, constrained production capabilities, tactical inefficiencies, and technological vulnerabilities is destroying its armored strength. While some analysts believe Russia will not entirely run out of tanks, the diminishing size and quality of its tank fleet could significantly impact its military effectiveness and strategic options in Ukraine. Well, there you have it, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support my work, there are links down below: PayPal donations, Patreon subscriptions for bonus content, and hundreds of uncensored Russian-Ukrainian footage, which I upload there every single week. And also you can buy the Russian Dude merch. All the links are down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims are resolve they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe